Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're in the ATR 72600 and we're going to be doing a full flight tutorial. Today we're going to be flying from Tenerife North to La Palma Airport in the Canaries, and of course for that we're going to be on board Binter Canaries airline. So for this tutorial I'm going to be in the 72 variant, but if you're looking for a tutorial for the 42 variant, this works exactly the same. The aircraft are basically identical, so you can use this tutorial for both. Okay, so in the cockpit then, as you can see, everything is currently cold and dark. We have no power to the aircraft at all. So the first thing we need to do is come over to the EFB. We can click aircraft and make sure wheel chocks are on. And once they're on, we can also turn off the emergency parking brake there, as we really don't need it. Then we can put ground power on. And if you want to at the same time, you can open up the cargo door, main door, and the tail prop. The tail prop is a small thing that comes out the back of the aircraft just before the tail, as when people are boarding, there's a chance that the aircraft could tip over because all the weight's going to be at the back. So that's just there to stop a tail strike during boarding. Okay, now the external power's on, we can go up to the overhead panel, clicking Control and 6, and then we can turn on both external powers, along with the battery as well. And then coming down here, we should see eventually all the screens should be doing their self-tests. We should also see the MCDUs coming alive as well. As you can see, we already have a master caution, and once this center screen comes on, we're going to see a few cautions up there. That's fine for now. We can just clear that, and we'll fix them all later as we do some more stuff with the aircraft. So in this tutorial, we're not going to be doing the full procedure for starting this aircraft up, but it's going to get it started up and in the air with all the things that are needed. So we're not going to do any fire tests or anything like that. We're going to just assume that everything is in a good working order in this aircraft. So we can go ahead to the MCDU now by clicking Control and 4, or if you wish you can set up a custom view, which I've done. So you can click Control and 4, and then you can move your screen a little bit and then press Control Alt and then a number, and then you can have that as a custom view. So I've got mine there as Control Alt and 3, and you can just press Alt and then that number, and it will go to that custom view. So we can go to FMS1 in the MCDU, go to the init page, and then first come to POS init. From here it's going to be a bit like the Boeing if you have the 737 in the sim. You're going to click the GPS position and put that in the init position, and now it's kind of like the IRS there. It's going to know now where we are in the world. We can go back, and now we're going to go to flight plan init. We're going to go to the route page, and here we're going to put in our flight ID, so our call sign, and also where we're going from and where we're going to. So today we're going from Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar, which is Tenerife North, to Golf Charlie Lima Alpha, which is La Palma. So we'll go put them in, Golf Charlie X-Ray Oscar to Golf Charlie Lima Alpha. Put that in there by clicking the soft key, as in most MCDUs and FMCs. And also put in our flight ID of IBB, which is Binter, Air Binter, and our call sign is 6 Uniform Foxtrot. 6 Uniform Foxtrot. Put that in there, and then we can click execute there. And as you'll see, it takes us straight to the flight plan page, where there we can go and click on our departure airport, just like in the Airbus. Then select our runway for departure, which is going to be 12, and then we need to select our departure. And our departure for today is going to be the Araco 3 Kilo departure, which is there. Click on that, and then again click execute. As you'll see, that puts that into the MCDU. Okay, that is all we need to do for our flight plan today. It's a very short flight, only about 25 minutes of flight time. So that is actually our whole route, and now we just need to enter the approach into La Palma. So we need to find the runway we're going to be using, which is going to be 36, and we need to see what arrivals they have for there. So they have an RNAV and an NDM. So we'll go with RNAV 36 Yankee. You can choose whichever you want though, and then we'll click execute there. And as you can see now, we have a whole route planned in. We do have for discontinuity. We'll just have to do a kind of heading thing there, or you can clear it if you wish by clicking clear, and then click the soft key next to the discontinuity, and that will clear that. Okay, so next thing we need to do is go back to the menu, select FMS1 again, go to init, and then do weight here. So this aircraft is a bit different to many other aircraft you may have in your sim. So to actually load up this aircraft, we can't use the EFB or the MCDU. Instead, we have to use the inbuilt weight and balance screen. And from here, we can set all the weights. If yours is not in pounds and kilos and you want to get that, you can change that by going into the general settings and under MISC. You can change the units to hybrid, and that will come up there like that then. And you can change that if you're in the US or Europe or wherever else you're flying, whatever unit they use. Okay, now we can go back to SimBrief and just check our flight plan, and we can see what kind of weights we're going to need. So the weights you're going to need is the block fuel and the payload. So we'll do block fuel first. Our block fuel is 1.6, just over. So we'll set that the best we can. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. We're looking down here for the fuel. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect, just roughly, and it won't really make that much of a difference. And then for the payload, we're going to need 6.7 tons. And we can set that again best we can. About there, 6.7 tons, looking there. And we can close that down. We're not going to need that again now. Go back to our MCDU. And then you can hold the soft key down next to the box you want to input. So we hold it down next to 0 fuel weight, and that'll put that in for us. And hold it down again next to FOB or fuel on board, and that will do that for us. Then we can see here our takeoff trim is in green of 0.8 up. So then we can come up here, and you can see here at the top we have our trim section. So if we have our trim bound to a button, which is highly recommended, you can then trim up until you hit 0.8 there. Okay, from there we can just return there. If you want to change any units in here, if you're flying somewhere with different units than what is standard, you can go ahead and set them now if you wish. And also if you want to do a second flight plan, it's not really needed. But if you want to, you can just press the flight plan section again, and as you can see we get a second flight plan. Then click new flight plan, copy flight plan, and execute that. As you return, you'll see we've got the same flight plan twice. You can just click the flight plan button to switch between them, and then you can choose to do different things. So I'll go back to the standard flight plan now though, and as you can see on here we can see the flight plan, and you may be wanting to know how you can change the range and stuff. So if you want to see a bit more information on it, you can go to options here and go to display click spot help. So here you have all the different click spots that there are on the displays. So I'm not going to go over all of this at the moment. You can have a look at that for yourself if you need it. So basically you just click at the top of the screen to zoom out, at the bottom to zoom in, and then we can see our whole route there. Just make sure it's all looking nice and it's all looking like it's in the right place. So for the actual flying, I like to put ND on, which is what we're on now, and then you can turn this here, and that will change a different thing. You get like an arc kind of thing, as you get in the 737 and the A320. It just seems nicer to me to fly like that. Okay, so next thing we want to do is go back up to the overhead panel by clicking Control and 6. And as you'll see, there's a lot of white lights of things that are turned off. Basically, we just want to extinguish all of them. So we're going to do fuel pumps to on, DC Gen 1 and 2 to on. We'll leave the probe heats for now. We'll go the blue, aux and green hydraulic pumps to on. ACW Gen 1 and 2 can come on. Main supply of oxygen can come on. Windshield heating can come on. And we'll also bring on the signs as well. So emergency exit signs to on, seatbelt signs and no device signs as well. Also, you may notice external lights, they've got beacon and nav on. You don't need them on, so you can turn them off for now. Okay, so you may notice now on most of the things you've then turned on, just the DC gens and ACW gens, you may see fault lights, or you should see fault lights. That's fine, we're just going to leave them on for now, and as we do more things with the aircraft, then fault lights will extinguish. You'll also see possibly a couple warnings come up as you're doing that. That's fine, you can just ignore them for now as well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the aircraft into something called hotel mode, which is basically like using an APU. but in this aircraft they use the number 2 engine, and they basically run it but without the propeller spinning. So you may have seen that on the overhead panel we have this button here called the prop brake, or the switch. So basically what we're going to do is turn that on, uncage it, turn it on, and then recage it. You should see a blue prop brake light come on there. Next thing we want to do is actually start the number 2 engine. So we're going to do that by turning the engine start switch to start A. You can put start B as well. There's basically 2 different starters, or start A and B. Most people just put it to start A, and most company procedures do that as well. From there we can then click start to, and we should see an engine page then come up on our ND. And once this NH percentage reaches 10%, we can come down here to the fuel condition lever and set the engine 2 to feather position. As we do that, you're going to get an air bleed 1 warning for the engine 1 bleed, but that's fine because that's not turned on yet. We just extinguish the caution, and as you can see the engine's now starting up, but if we go to the outside view, the engine actually isn't spinning. You can probably hear the engine noise, but the engine propeller actually isn't spinning. So now we've got that on, you should see down here a few of the lights that were down here before, so the bleed and pack, they've extinguished. So that means we now basically have all power coming from that second engine. So we can turn off external power, and when we turn off this other external power, you're going to get a few warnings come up. That's fine, you can ignore them and just clear that caution, or extinguish the caution then, and that will all fix in a second. Okay, so now we've got that on. If you're on VATSIM or something, you maybe have already got your clearance, or you might be getting your clearance now. To put in your squawk code, you're going to click the serve button, and then here you've got the squawk code box. You can click on that, it's touchscreen, and then you go down to the MCDU, and here you have this keypad. You can see at the top right there as well, and then you can put in your squawk code. So let's say 5241 is our squawk. We put that in there, then click enter, and that will go in there. And then we've got different settings on it for it on there as well. So we've got standby, which I'll leave it on for now, and then on, which will turn over to that once we are entering the runway. And then TCAS, you've got auto, TA only, or standby. And for most of the time, you're going to want it to be on auto, and that will sort everything out for you. Okay, so now we're basically ready to begin our pushback. So let's get the let's click the nav button up here. You'll see LNAV is displayed up there, and also click VNAV, and you'll see VNAV IAS comes up on there. Okay, also make sure your flight directors are on. Clicking the FD button. You may not need it on the co-pilot side, but you can have it on both if you wish. And now we are completely ready for pushback. So if you have GSX, you can use that for pushback if you have a profile for it. Or if you're like me and haven't got GSX, you can use toolbar pushback. And you can go to pre-plan pushback. And here we're going to push back with our nose to the left to depart on 1-2. So we'll try and do this the best we can. It doesn't always work perfectly, but we'll try it. Okay, so before we push back, we're going to get the logo lights and the nav lights to on. If it's also nighttime, you also want to put on the wing lights. And also just monitoring this temperature up here. If you want to, you can select manual, so you can click these 2 switches, and you can change these temperatures there. For now, it's looking like an alright temperature, so we'll just leave them on auto for now, and that should sort out the temperature for us. It is there if you need to change it manually. Also, another thing I quite like about this aircraft is you can see the call sign there. So I a lot of the time leave this serve menu up, and then you can see your call sign there if you need it with ATC. If you're on VATSIM or iVal, it just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, before we push back, I'm just going to select the map and zoom in on this, just so we can kind of see where we are. And also make sure we're pushing to the right way. So this is runway 12 going that way. This is the threshold. Well, it's not the threshold, but that's kind of where the threshold would be if we zoom in a little bit. And yeah, that's the correct runway. So we'll go ahead and make sure parking brakes are released. We can go to aircraft here, get rid of the tail prop and all of this. We can get rid of ground power now because that's off, and wheel chocks. Come up to toolbar pushback and just press the hold button, and that's going to begin our pushback for us. So as we're pushing back, what we need to do is start number 1 engine now. So we'll make sure engine start is still on start A. If you are waiting a bit before pushback, you could put it back to off. But I just left it on start. Make sure the left fuel pump is on. Select engine 1 start. Monitor up here for the NH percentage, and once it hits 10%, you can then put the fuel condition to feather. And you'll see that engine will start up, but that engine will keep spinning. So you can only use the prop brake on the right engine, or number 2 engine. And once engine 1 has started up, I then like to then remove the prop brake at that point. Different companies and different people will release it at different points, but I find that is the best time, and they kind of start up together then. And once we've pushed back, engines will be fully started, and then we can clear all these warnings by just changing the fuel condition levers to auto. So we'll wait until we're fully pushed back. You can just set whatever screen we want now in the EFB, we don't really need it anymore. Okay, and now we push back, we'll set parking brake, and this guy will go back over there. And as he's doing that, we can then turn on the taxi lights and the beacon light. We can also put the strobe on if we want to, but you shouldn't really put that on until you're on the runway. And then we can put the fuel condition levers to auto, and you'll notice in a couple seconds all these warnings will just disappear, and that will be fine. Also make sure your engine levers are at idle as well, and you haven't got them set somewhere else. Then we can remove the gust lock, and we're basically now ready to go. So let's set map again, get that up there, and now we are ready for taxi. So that's going to be it for this video. The next video will be on the taxi and takeoff part of the flight, and then we'll also do a descending video after that one. So thank you for coming along. Hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you want to watch my future videos.